When it comes to handhelds, there aren't a lot of driving simulator games available, at least not any big name ones. Gran Turismo hasn't released a handheld game for the past 10 years since the PSP game, and the only portable Forza game is still in development for mobile, and after playing it, even if it does get ported over to the Switch or another handheld, I'm not sure how much interest there will be considering it's an autonomous racing game where you don't actually control your vehicle. But where there aren't driving simulators, there are riding simulators. There are actually quite a few motorcycle-based simulation games on the Switch thanks to the MotoGP series based on the actual MotoGP events. I haven't been able to cover any of them so far, but once again, thanks to my Gamefly subscription, the lack of responses from the game's developer and publisher has not stopped me. So, here is my review of MotoGP 19 for the Nintendo Switch. When it comes to gameplay, this is a 3D riding simulator, kind of like a driving simulator, but motorcycles. As such, in each of the game modes, you're going to be riding motorcycles around asphalt-based circuits in various events, from warm-ups and time trials to actual races. First of all, we need to talk about the different game modes and what is missing from the Switch version of MotoGP 19. When you first boot up the game, you can create a custom character, letting you modify their appearance and later on a lot of their cosmetics and even riding styles. And once your character is complete, you get access to all of the game modes. First, you've got career mode that lets you align yourself with a real-world team and go through seasons of events, giving you choices of what events you want to do and what you don't want to do, and the customization of research and development, letting you make development points so you can upgrade your bikes. Outside of that, you've got quick modes that let you do quick gameplay Grand Prix, Championship, and time trial events, historical challenges that let you go through 50 special events based off of the history of the MotoGP, local multiplayer that lets you play with other people in the room with you, graphics editor that lets you create vinyl graphics for your bikes and helmets, and of course rider customization so you can go back into that character creator later on to modify your cosmetics. But local multiplayer on the main menu is the thing that should catch your attention. This is where missing content comes in. Local multiplayer basically replaces both the online multiplayer from the other versions as well as the esports challenge mode, which hosts a lot of online-based challenges for the Xbox, PlayStation, and PC versions. Taking a quick look at the main menu of the other versions of the game, you'll notice that these two features are missing as well as the downloadable content part. So not only do we not get online multiplayer or the esports challenge mode, but we're also not getting any of the game's DLC. Now once you get out of the menu and get into actual gameplay, the real charm and difficulty of MotoGP really starts to hit you. To be put simply, MotoGP is just as much of a simulator for motorcycles as Gran Turismo is a simulator for cars and vehicles. It is very well known for its physics engines and showing gamers that there is a very big difference between driving a car around a turn and riding a motorcycle around it. If you've never played a game like this before, you will quickly realize that balance and weight management is a really big part of MotoGP. When you're driving cars, you don't have to worry about driving around a corner, and if you go into the dirt a little bit, you can always recover and get back into it. But if you're riding a motorcycle, a lot of stuff like this will happen. Pull too hard and get too close to the ground in a turn and you'll wipe out. Get hit by another rider, you'll wipe out. Get nudged into a wall by another rider, you wipe out. You get the idea. It is much more difficult to race bikes than it is to race vehicles when it comes to turning. And MotoGP uses realistic physics engines to make it feel as real as possible and give you the actual difficulty a motorcycle rider has. There's a lot of weight management involved. You got both front and rear brakes that affect the bike in different ways. And it's a type of racing where you don't really want to bump into anything because of those high speeds. Pretty much a simple bump can send you and your opponent flying off in the distance. It's very realistic and also gives the game a huge difficulty curve. But thankfully it's not so realistic that you have to worry about someone grabbing onto your handbrake like this person did in an actual MotoGP event. And you've also got a lot of different options that you can implement depending on your skill level. The physics engine can be turned up or down to make it harder or easier for you, and there are a lot of assist functions that will help you with turning and braking, especially when you're trying to learn each circuit to know how you're supposed to tackle each turn. Now once you get the system, the game's a lot of fun. Going through career mode and getting all of those enhancements for your motorcycle is pretty interesting, and as your skill level increases, you can go into photo mode and make some really interesting screenshots. Or you can be like me and hit the plus button to go into photo mode every time you get a little cinematic wipeout screen to make some more colorful screenshots. All in all though, the gameplay is solid, the physics engines are impressive, and it's really nice to be able to tone down the physics engines while you learn the game. Now in terms of content and length, this is going to be kind of like what I've talked about with the RBI and other sports games. There's no real story mode, you don't build up currency to buy vehicles like you do in games like Gran Turismo. All you really do is go through career modes and then do quick gameplay in the other modes. Granted, you can spend a lot of hours in a single season of career mode, but with online multiplayer and the esports challenge mode completely removed, it really limits your options. Now let's get into presentation. Graphically, the game looks good, but it doesn't look great. It's definitely a step up from the previous games, which were really blurry in handheld mode, but there are still plenty of jagged edges around the environments, and there is a little bit of a blur when you go into handheld mode. And the other problem with presentation, I think, is more of a nitpick than anything else. Races are silent. You hear lots of music in the menus and you hear lots of commentary in the pre-race events, but once you actually start racing, nothing. You just hear silence and the engines. It's such an unfortunate thing for me because I really love the menu music in this game and I'd love to be able to hear it while I'm riding. When it comes to performance, I don't really have any complaints. There are a few small frame drops in the pre-race cinematic events, but once you get into gameplay, it runs perfectly smooth both in docked mode and handheld mode. Now let's get out of presentation and into battery life, which is a little more than I was expecting. MotoGP 19 has a battery range of 3 hours and 7 minutes on high settings, up to 3 hours and 45 minutes on low settings. Now in conclusion, MotoGP 19 brings a much more optimized riding simulator to the Switch than in previous years. Now the downside, some of the bigger game modes have been completely removed from the Switch version, and it's still got a few hiccups when it comes to graphics and presentation. But if you want solid riding simulation on the go, and you're okay with not getting those extra game modes and DLC, this just might be worth checking out. Reviews to Go rates MotoGP 19 for the Nintendo Switch a 7 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.